Ever since I created the Mushroom Island back in 2022 and purchased no less than 1,200 transparent dark blue tiles for the water, it's been my dream to have a huge ocean at the front of the LEGO Minecraft world. We got a little closer to realizing that when we attached the beachside savanna last summer, but we're going to need a lot more water if we want to call this thing an ocean, and that's where today's episode comes in when we add our biggest ocean segment to the display yet. This module has the task of blending together several different biomes, the ocean of course, but also the swamp, mangrove swamp, and flower forest created in the ravine episode. With this build too, we also have the opportunity to showcase a bunch of players and some mobs that haven't made their way into the display yet. As always, there's a lot to do, so hey, let's get to building. Oh yes, today's module is a big one, a chunk and a half. For reference, that's the same size as the Pillager Outpost, one of the largest models in the display. In total, it's going to be 48 by 32 studs. The most important part of this build, unsurprisingly, is the water, so we want to get that finished right away. For that, we'll be using the same techniques that we used in both the Mushroom Island and the Beachside Savanna. Lots and lots of transparent dark blue, regular dark blue, and of course, what remains of those 1,200 1x2 tiles. Hopefully there will be enough to tile this all off. And prepare yourselves for perhaps the best tiling sequence ever recorded on this channel. Somehow I had the exact number of tiles in that bag that I needed. And take a look at the finished product here. That investment of tiles was definitely worth it way back then. It's so shiny and saturated and blue, you gotta love it. It's certainly feeling a lot more like an ocean now, and especially will once we get it hooked up to the other two modules. For now, to help us line things up, we're going to bring in the original swamp and also the flower forest from a few episodes ago to make sure all the terrain matches on the sides. Making sure all these biomes blend together nicely is of course very important. Once the terrain is done though, I'm going to temporarily pull these finished modules aside just so it's easier to access the beach itself. You all know how fragile those trees are, and I don't need to knock any more over. This weird hole in the front is actually going to be the home of a shipwreck, something that you guys have been asking me to add to this world for a long time now. In typical Cheesy Studios fashion, we're going to try to make this thing as game accurate as possible and as smooth as it can be too. Shipwrecks are pretty complex though, with several different block types and lots of stairs and slabs, so we're going to get a bit creative with the techniques we're using here. Where I can, I'm definitely making use of masonry bricks to convey that wooden plank texture a little better. I've placed them on their sides too to make up the deck of the ship, and I especially like how that looks. The frontmost part of the ship gets quite crazy with studs facing in all directions, and then to top it off we add some of these fences on the side too. Once completed, I think it makes for a pretty convincing shipwreck, and I'm glad I was able to add it. I wasn't sure I'd have room, and I definitely don't have room to add the whole thing, but this half-buried one I think does the trick for me. With the shipwreck out of the way, it should be smooth sailing from here. We'll bring those other modules back into play to help with the grass transitions between them, because we have dark green grass in the swamp and regular green for the flower forest. I'm actually going to swap out a few existing tiles on the mangrove swamp and the swamp modules and extend that regular swamp biome out a bit. This should give me room to add another swamp tree, which I think will help create a better forested look over this region. But hey, that means it's time to lay down some more tiles. And then it's time to cover up these jumpers with some grass. Now, a lot of people ask me why I use these older style of stems compared to the newer ones with the bar on the bottom. While the new ones are definitely more sturdy in the jumper, I really like the appearance of these older style grass stems. That stud in the middle makes them look more like a Lego element to me. And also, I've just had hundreds of them for years that I need to use up. Of course, we'll place a frog from the Swamp Adventure set in the expanded swamp section here, and we'll also place a frog not from that set here too. We'll place some sugarcane on this expansion, and then we'll get to work on that new tree. The tree is constructed in the same way as like the oak and birch trees from the flower forest are. Swamp trees though are a little bit bigger, taking up a 7x7 block space instead of a regular oak tree's 5x5. That just means we have a lot more tiles that we need to put on it. Thankfully, my Lego Pick-a-Brick order came just in time. I tend to get my 2x2 tiles from there because they're usually cheaper than bricklinks. Just a pro tip if you ever need yourself a lot of 2x2 tiles. And believe it or not, I tend to go through my fair share of them. I'm also adding another oak tree in here to help, again, blend the biomes together. I break down how to build that in more detail in the ravine episode if you're interested. Although the module takes up a lot of space because it's pretty flat, the terrain here came together quite quickly. Even this small handful of modules feel so immersive when placed together. I can't wait to get these connected to the rest of the world. Before we do that though, let's make a few updates to what we have here. I'm going to swap out both the beehive and the bees of the Mangrove Swamp episode to make them more consistent with those included in the Flower Forest Ravine. I've updated the bee design to be a bit shorter and a bit cleaner all around. The proportions on these definitely work a lot better. I'm also going to add some more flowers in the Flower Forest, including these peonies. And I'm bringing back a fan favorite, the tulip. All right, let's bring some players in here. First up, we've got Kai from the Illager raid set. He's armed with a shovel, and I'm thinking he's gonna try to dig up some buried treasure from that ship. Then we've got the llama tamer from the llama village, who's recently been diving in the ocean. And then we'll also include the bear costume player skin from the bee cottage set. You know what? I think we can do better with that. We haven't included any angry bees on this set. You know, if there's anyone these bees are mad at, it's probably this bear who has clearly been stealing a bit of honey from them. There we go. That's perfect. And of course, we need to include some turtles in our beach module, and I'll be adding the baby turtles from the new 2024 set, the Turtle Beach House. They're just adorable. All right, let's add everything to the larger world. First the swamp, then the new beach, and then we'll attach the Flower Forest Ravine here on the side. That fills in a huge, very obvious gap that was left in the display up until now, and oh, is it satisfying to see all that water come together. We've finally created a proper ocean. I can't wait to do the second underwater module to go beneath it. We'll get to that sometime this year, hopefully. But for the next episode, we're moving away from the water, quite a ways away from the water as we finish out our last nether biome, the Soul Sand Valley. That episode will bring both halves of our nether world together, and as an added bonus, you'll get a custom gas tutorial to go along with it too. But that's all I've got for this time. Thanks as always for watching, have yourself a great life, and I will see you later.